Hey everyone, Luan Pham here. Unfortunately, my other Byrna bro, Brian Gans, our CEO, is traveling. So today we have Josh as our suitable fill-in. He's always a great collaborator for me. But the guest of honor is Amy Robbins, CEO, founder of Alexo Athletica. And then we'll let Amy talk about her story and what led her to become a one of the leaders in the 2A space, and also bringing to market products that keep men and women safe. And Amy, welcome. Thank you so much for joining the Byrna Bros podcast, and we're so happy to have you.
That was a great intro. Thank you. I appreciate you guys and I appreciate the time. I'm just honored to be here today. So thanks for having me.
Of course. And so, we were introduced by mutual friends, and we found your story to be so inspiring. And, I think you tell it best, and just tell the audience,
Yeah.
how did this idea of Alexo Athletica come about? What is it? Why is it? And why do you think it's important?
Yeah, absolutely. So my story is very similar actually to a lot of women. So just quick background. I'm a big runner, big avid runner my entire life. This particular year, when this idea came to me though, I was actually training for a specific marathon here in Dallas, and I went on the same route every single day. We lived out in the country, so the road that I would run on was really in the middle of nowhere. It was very remote, and personally, I never had anything bad happen to me out there, so I never felt scared or anything like that. I actually loved how remote it was because it was super quiet. And so I tell people at that point in my life, there was no reason for me to ever carry a self-defense tool. Like, I didn't think about being proactive in my safety. I didn't really think about the need for that. So I laced up my shoes. I ran out my door, and I did kind of what I was doing every day during that time, which was go on my saying. I think I was doing a 6-mile run that day. So this day was a little bit different though, because, in the background, I heard a car coming up, and most people would be like, why is that weird? But it's because no cars were ever out there. So it got my attention. I looked behind me, and it was one of those big, like, white worker vans. And as they came around the corner, they pulled up really close to me. They rolled down their windows, and they started doing just that cat calling. They were staring at me. They were like basically going my pace. And that was very harassing to me. And that was the first time in my life that I had ever felt that vulnerable, because I knew at that moment, like, I had nothing on my body. I had no way to defend or protect myself. They drove off, but then when they went to the end of the road, I saw them U-turn. And when I saw them coming back towards me, that's when all those hairs on my arm, like, stood up. And I started doing that thing that so many women do. I started looking for my escape route, like planning, what am I going to do? Jump the barbed wire fence? I don't know, like, all those thoughts start racing through your head. And they came back and they did it again. And I just prayed. I was like, God, if you just get me home safely, give me a second chance. I will do something with my second chance. No idea what that was. But thankfully, my story ended there. But for millions of women, they don't get to make it home safely. And I realized that very quickly when I went home and I started doing research. For me, I was extremely comfortable with firearms. I was a certified handgun instructor at that point. I had been working with the NRA in a couple of capacities, hosting some of their TV shows. So I was really comfortable with the firearm. But as I was doing my research, I found out 80% of women at that point had confessed that they felt scared or threatened when they were out walking or running alone. And that majority of those women, like 50% of those women, carried some form of self-defense tool on their body. So it's like, great, there's a lot of other women that have experienced this. I got my license to carry. Now what? Like, where am I going to carry this? Surely somebody has solved this problem that if we're going to trade in our, high-end premium activewear, it's got to look great, it's got to feel great, it's got to be comfortable, but it has to have some sort of functionality built in that makes it very easy and accessible for women to get to their tools. And I couldn't find that. I looked everywhere. I looked in the tactical space. I looked obviously, like, Lulu and Nike were never going to put holsters in your pants. So that was kind of my aha moment that said, this has the potential to reach a very large audience, not just the 10 million women at that point that had concealed carry license, but the women beyond the gun who wanted to still carry certain things like mace, taser, or now a Byrna. And so that's how the whole idea came to me. It really was something that it was a need that I had, and I wanted to turn around and help millions of other women be able to make it home safely and never have to fear, and just feel confident and empowered in their everyday lives.
And then when you came up with that concept, how did you go about, okay, how do I fund it myself? Do I go out and get, people to provide capital? What was your,
Yeah, great question. Initially, when I told my husband about it, no, I was real smart about this because I knew he was gonna be like, "What? Like you?" I was not in this world. We were not in manufacturing. I was not a designer. I had been in the entertainment space in some capacity. I had been modeling, but I was not a designer, so I really knew nothing about the world of apparel manufacturing. But I laid out the business plan. I showed my husband the numbers, and I was like, if we could just find someone to, like make these for us, I think we could like sell a product. So I presented that to him. He was like, that's actually a really good idea. And we were brainstorming on a road trip with names, and came up with the name Alexo, which actually means to defend and help in Greek. And from there, we just like the ideas just started rolling. Like we knew that we wanted it to be a premium brand. We knew that we wanted to go beyond just being a company that promoted firearm use, but we wanted to promote the right to choose, and we wanted to promote that women can feel empowered by taking their lives and their protection back into their own hands. And initially, we really were just going to do women, but then we found out that the market, we were having all the men that were buying it for their women be like, where's the men's stuff? Like, what are we going to do? So set out, I did have some friends in Los Angeles that were technical designers, and they had to put our ideas down and actually come up with the strength of the elastic. What type of stitching are we going to use? I mean, guys, I'm talking, we went to Hobby Lobby and I was gluing things on some leggings, and it was trial and error. We were like, do we use magnets? Do we use like, what kind of strength of X, Y, and Z? Like, what do we use? So I like handed over this makeshift pair of pants to my buddy, and he was like, I'll take those and we will go and, we'll make this a little bit better. And it took us about 2 years of R&D to really perfect not just the functional part of it. That was obviously very, very important because we wanted it to be safe. We wanted people to have the ability to put a trigger guard of their choice in there and protect their trigger. But everything else about the garment was just as important to me. From the fit, like I knew that it had to make your butt look good. I knew that it had to suck you in. I knew that it had to be versatile. It had to be a clothing line that women, whether or not they ever chose to use those functional pockets for what we would love them to use it for, they still were drawn to the line because they looked good and they felt fashionable, and they felt like, hey, I can just start to incorporate some of this convenience into my life because Alexa puts 8 pockets into the waistband. Fantastic. These are purse pants. So that's kind of how we started it. We fell, thinking back, I'm like people just started falling in our laps. Our manufacturer, met him at SHOT Show out of the blue, said he loved the idea, wanted to help us, like do a very small run. Because as you know, like those initial minimum orders that you put in can get really expensive, especially depending on how many SKUs you want to have. And we initially started with, I think, 6 designs. And they let us do really low minimums on it, which was extremely helpful because we had no idea. I needed gun pants, but I had no idea. I thought other people did too, but I didn't know if anybody else was going to buy these things. And I can tell you that story later on. But yeah, we actually ended up selling our house, putting in an initial like $60,000 investment, I think, into the company. And then, yeah, I did initially go to some angel investors, but I got laughed out the door. Nobody thought that anyone would ever buy this. They thought this was crazy. They thought, why would anyone want to run with a tool on their body? Isn't that uncomfortable? Aren't you going to be able to see it? And so what that did for me was it solidified that I'm going to have to go out and prove this market. I'm going to have to go out and build a community. And if we're going to see success on this, it's going to be because we work tirelessly day in and day out to get this message out to people and to build us a really strong community on social media at that point to help us get the word out.
What's interesting is Josh is an avid runner. And when I first met him, it was in Las Vegas, and he's like, we was at the end of the day, and we were like, okay, like, want to go back to the hotel? No, I want to run. I'm like, it's 115. And like, yeah, I'll see you there. So I'm like, this guy is a madman. And so, Josh, this question would be for you. Like, when you run, did you ever consider carrying? And then if you did, were there any options for you in the apparel space for that?
I did for most of my running career. I ran with a gun. I mean, and this was obviously before Byrna and before Byrna was a thing, and I did. But the problem is that there weren't a lot of options on how to do that. So it was a giant compromise on not only what I could carry, but how I could carry it. But people have always heard me say that whatever you carry is better than anything you won't. So. I always felt that, hey, I wanted to have something. You're so vulnerable, like Amy was saying, you're so vulnerable when you're carrying nothing. I mean, I wasn't running with a cell phone. I was running with no means of communication, nothing, earbuds, and that's basically it. So having something with me to know that I could at least get myself out of a situation was absolutely paramount for me. And to now see, we fast forward several years and now see a market where we're starting to see the understanding for that. And it surprises me that some of those investors just they couldn't put A and B together and understand the importance and value for such a pragmatic product. So many more, we're seeing so many more people now live an active lifestyle, and it's taken a long time, but we're really starting to see that push into, hey, we need to have an active lifestyle, we need to be out and about, but now we're providing products for people to do that and have options to do that in a much safer manner. And I guess kind of leading into that, Amy, so you had a great product. You started putting that together, and of course, recently we've been talking, and you've partnered with Byrna. What kind of drove you to make that move and understand that, hey, you've been a gun toter your whole life. Your husband's been a gun toter, but why partner with a less lethal company, especially in the space that you're in here?
Because that's the market. That is the opportunity right there. It's so much bigger than because you think about the number of people that live in a state that they can carry, and then take that next step to actually go and get a license to carry. It is a very niche market, and we've been able to be successful within that small market. The bigger opportunity is the less than lethal space, because then you hit people that are never going to be comfortable with a firearm. You're going to hit people around the entire world that can't even own firearms. You're going to start reaching people that are too young to carry something else. And so to me, it opens up that entire world of getting people in the mindset. Like me, I was not even in the mindset to protect myself. I was very reactive to a situation. I never thought of myself as the first line of defense. And that moment that I was followed, that changed everything for me. And I really wanted to make it my mission to help women start to think proactively. So in my situation, just by having a little bit more sturdy waistband and some extra pockets built in, if that triggers someone's brain to think, well, why do I even need to carry something? And their first thought is not going to be, I'm going to carry a gun. That is not the typical response for most people. So having options like the Byrna that are not only concealable and now compact, which I love, but effectiveness. I think that was always my biggest hesitation being a gun girl, was how effective is this going to be? And I preach this all the time, that every situation doesn't call for a firearm. First and foremost, every situation, you should be trying to think of how to get out of that situation. And then beyond that, you need to have multiple tools in your toolbox to be able to take care of whatever the situation warrants. And that's not always a gun. And people don't really think through how serious it is if you pull that trigger on your firearm. And I think having a less lethal option like Byrna is just going to be really important for those people that never really want to take that next step and get into a firearm. And that's totally fine.
Our brand philosophies align so well is the fact that we're all about being prepared to defend. And I think having for women, or even for husbands or boyfriends of women who like to go out and train, it also gives them peace of mind that their significant other is prepared, trained, and ready to go. And I think under duress and having a weapon where you're not afraid to pull the trigger with Byrna, it doesn't have the devastating effects, because as we know as gun people, you're responsible for every round you send. And if
Yeah.
that round finds something or someone that had nothing to do with that situation, you're going to find yourself in a lot of hot water.
Yep.
And so for us, it's the Byrna delivers that formidable stopping power.
Well, it's also less intimidating. I think like you can't discount the fact that, and that's why, I mean, we made our brand look and feel the way that we did. People come to us just because it's beautiful designs. Not every single piece, none of our jackets actually have built-in concealed carry capabilities. Like we're a lifestyle line. So the majority of anything that's going to carry a firearm is going to be built into the bottoms. We've got skirts, we've got joggers, we've got work pants now. We've got running shorts, anything that helps you live an active lifestyle. So we've got that great premium active fabric, but it looks good. You would have absolutely no idea that that person is carrying a firearm. So it's very unassuming. It's not tactical looking. And to me, that lowers barriers to entry into this lifestyle and into this space. And that's kind of how I view the Byrna. It's not intimidating. It's easy to use. It's something that requires minimal skill in training. I mean, like I went out today and just was having so much fun shooting the little kinetic balls. It was so easy and I was really accurate with it. It was so great. And so you cannot like overemphasize how important that is, that you have a product that is all encompassing and it's inclusive and it's welcoming and it also could potentially save your life. Count me in.
In your scenario, let's go back, you're on that trail, a van full of guys catcalling you, and if they saw you and they're like, oh my gosh, she's carrying, maybe that's a girl we pass on and go find someone else to bother, right?
Yep.
And I think there's also an optics aspect of it
For
where
sure.
this person is prepared to defend, has the tools to do that, and that's the fight we want. And Josh and I have this conversation all the time. And Josh, as a former police officer, says, "Hey, if you present, if your presence is strong, confident, if you will, they're going to find another victim because most criminals are cowards. They don't want
Yep.
to."
Well, let me say, I want to speak to that point because that's so true. And you're spot on with this. But for women, what gives them that power to project confidence is knowing that they can back up if something were to continue to happen. I see women shrink back, lower their voice, move eye contact because they're afraid that if someone becomes more aggressive or the situation escalates, they shrink back instead of projecting that confidence because they know they can't do anything. So what a tool like the Byrna does is it gives you that ability to use that voice, project that confidence to them because you can back it up. Like if somebody were to continue moving forward, like I would have absolutely no problem presenting that and, potentially using it. And so I think that you can never like underestimate how important that is, that you have a tool that gives you the confidence to project more confidence.
Now that's, I think, where we're at from both from a Byrna perspective and Alexo Athletica. Also, sidebar, Alexo Athletica 2A, get it? 2A.
You're the first person. I haven't told you that before. You're like the first person who's ever gotten that and without me having to tell them. But yeah, there might be something to the alliteration there. Yeah.
I think there's this opportunity to take empowerment mainstream because we know I know in my journey when I had to step up into the firearms world because the world, everything around me was melting. I had to do something. And it was a very tough position for me because I've never grew up around guns, and then it became very apparent that I needed something to protect myself and my family, and that was a big step for me. And so, Byrna, we always like to joke internally that it's the gateway product to the firearm. So when people get comfortable with how to manage and handle a weapon safely and securely, then within time they'll transition over. And I think in order for our products and your products to go mainstream, is that we have to look at it from a business perspective. In order to scale, you have to have the masses, right? And
Absolutely. Yep. No, you do. And I think that we're starting to see this shift because honestly, when I was going through this, I don't know if I'd ever heard of like a mainstream story on the news about a woman jogger dying. And now like they're covering these types of stories and it's heartbreaking to see this over and over, but they're actually covering it and it's getting national coverage. And then to see a major brand like Adidas try to step up and do something about it last year after the Eliza Fletcher death. I totally disagree with their premise and their foundation for what their solution is to this problem. But they did it was a multi-million-dollar campaign called the Ridiculous Run. And they actually acknowledged what women have to do to feel safe on their run. And they came up with all these strategies and things to do. And the best they could come up with was try to get 1 million men to pledge that they would not assault a woman on a run. And they told us to do crazy things like run with your hair in a bun versus a ponytail, run with keys in between your fingers. And then men, you just need to do better. And while I say, that's wonderful and good for you for acknowledging this, but the men that are going to sign that pledge aren't the ones that are out there assaulting
I
women.
mean, I think what you're doing is taking functional clothing to the next level, right? And it's all about, I think, from the perspective of self-protection, self-defense. If we are taking a soft approach, we're only going to proliferate or let the crime rates proliferate. And I think now, as the evolution of how people look at training clothing, it's really more of like a lifestyle. Everywhere you go, you see, men and women walking around in leggings, and they're not on it for a run. That's just like how they are, right? And
We were talking about that before we recorded, and that was the opportunity. I mean, like I watched the trends and how spandex was outpacing denim by like 3 to 1 at that point. And then you've got companies, like Lulu that really normalized wearing athletic wear in all situations. I mean, you're wearing your leggings as pants now, and that's the norm. That's the suburban mom uniform, right? That's a college girl uniform. So if that's what they're wearing on a daily basis, we don't have to try to make clothes we don't have to try to move them in a different direction. We just need to meet them where they're at. And then we need to build in the functionality that if they ever were to wake up and say, wait, these are really cool. What's this pocket for? Oh, wow. This company wants me to carry a mace. This company wants me to carry this. Like, okay, that's cool.
And that's exactly, at Byrna, we always talk about we're here to provide options. We're not here to replace anything. We're here to give people options to defend themselves. And you are absolutely embodying, that philosophy is you're giving people options to be able to defend themselves. So, I'm really excited for the partnership because our philosophies are so intertwined and moving in the same direction. And that's, I think what you're doing is absolutely phenomenal and just allowing people those options to really that are good, that are functional, that are that are pragmatic, that they can actually go out and use is absolutely phenomenal.
all I know is this: I have a daughter that's going into college next year, and she's going to be walking around campus, and spandex is her thing. So I'm like, okay, now we have a solution because I just didn't feel. I mean, she's not a big girl. She's probably like 95 pounds wet.
Yeah.
But I didn't think mace was something that or pepper spray, in our case, bad guy repellent, was something that shouldn't be her only option. And so it's going to be we train a lot at home, so I know we'll be your customers for sure, our household. And for the record, Josh is not that excited about this partnership because he's already told me that I'm not allowed to wear spandex to work. And, that's just not right. I've been working out.
Okay, in all fairness, we have men's joggers, men's shorts, the men's market on the business side of things was a lot tougher. And I knew that going in because the guys in the gun world are very specific. about their gear, about their holsters, and they can't wait to rip apart a new product that doesn't fit their lifestyle. But what we also always knew is that there was a group of men out there, like the regular dudes who are not in the gun world, who just wanted comfortable, convenient, cool options. And that was who we wanted to go after. But that was going to be a lot more expensive to like go start a brand new brand for brand new guys. And surprisingly, like we've sold out of all of our men's stuff. And like, which is great, but like there's more. Like we need to do more. There's more people. We've always been direct to consumer. We were not set up to be a retail brand, but that's kind of where I see the next phase of growth for us and the next growth opportunity, because these people are going to be the evangelists for us as well. Like they're looking for really good products that they can recommend and sell, and that can complement, other things like the Byrna gun that they're already selling in their store. So that to us is really the next layer of growth for what we're looking to do.
And we celebrate that, and obviously it takes a village, and we're kind of brothers and sisters locked in arms. And so you know that you're going down the right path, especially with the relationship with Byrna's. We sold over 500,000 units of the SD, and I would say a little under 5 years. And the new compact launcher is already flying off the shelves. And in that regard, as you're aware, we just signed a big partnership with Sportsman's Warehouse. They have 147 locations throughout the country, and if there's anything that we can do to help you introduce you to those kind of folks, we're happy to do it. They also believe in this space, and they believe in the fact that, hey, if you're out there, it's a big world out there. Be prepared, be ready, and here are the options for you to enjoy your life, live in confidence. We live in the greatest country in the world, and
Right.
if you're too scared to leave your front door, then we got to revisit why that's the case, right?
Yeah. Well, being prepared gives you peace of mind. I mean, we keep spare tires in our car, not because we leave every day terrified we're going to get a flat tire. Like we don't even think about it because we have peace of mind. If we get a flat tire, we can take care of it. So like we put that little piece out of our brain and we can go about our day. And it's kind of the same thing when it comes to your personal protection. Being prepared gives you peace of mind. Then you just know, okay, yeah, I need to be aware. I don't need to put my head in the sand and not be situationally aware or not think that bad guys don't exist. But I can just calm down a little bit because I know that I can take care of myself.
Well, you're doing incredible work. We look at you as a hero, and I think many women out there think the same, that are aware of Alexo Athletica. So this podcast is obviously recorded. It's going to get sent out to our massive database. Tell the kind folks where they can find your product. What's the URL?
Well, as of right now, you guys can find it at alexoathletica.com. We are direct to consumer, and hopefully in the near future, we'll also be at some retail stores near you if you want to go get your hands on the product and feel it, try it on, do all the things that you love to do with your clothing. But yeah, go check out alexoathletica.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all the social media places as well to just keep up with what we're doing. Sign up for the newsletter, because you're going to get a 15% discount when you sign up as well. And we don't like blow up your inbox with newsletters. It's typically when we've got sales or restock alerts and like the really important pivotal things that you're going to want to know about, because a lot of our styles do sell out pretty quickly.
That's fantastic. I've been on the website. I know my wife was picking out a bunch of stuff, so I'm like, oh my gosh, my wife got one in every color. We got to put in some overtime over here, Josh, to make sure we can handle this.
Worthy cause. It's a worthy cause.
Yeah,
Amy,
right.
so much. You are a pioneer. We look forward to working with you, and I think there's a bright future ahead for both companies.
Yep, I totally agree. I'm just excited about the opportunity and love what you guys are doing. Glad that there's finally a product out there that I can feel confident recommending to people. So keep up the good work. It's really exciting what the future holds.
Awesome. Take care.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Amy.